This video is on how to transfer a plan into the Pro Plan template. And more specifically, we're going to be transferring a canvas scan into the Pro Plan template. Now, this is a difficult process, and I don't love editing videos, so I'm not going to edit this video. So you're probably going to see me screw up a little bit here and there, and that's okay. So let's just take a look at this. Here's our canvas scan, and I want to get this into the newest version of the Pro Plan and take advantage of all those features. So how do we even start? First off, I want to prep a plan to begin with, okay? And so I want to find out where the 0, of the screen. Now it turns out that Canvas always puts the corner of their building at their 0. And I'm not sure why they do that, but it's just good to know. It saves a little bit of time, but in case you don't have your building oriented in a way that you know where 0 is on the sheet, and what I mean by 0 is X position 0, Y position 0, okay? So with that in mind, I'm going to get in the CAD menu, points, input a point, make it an absolute location 0, press OK, and we can see here that was already on the screen. I didn't do that. That was already there from Canvas. So now that we have that at that 0 position, we get to use the Edit Area tool, which is in the Edit menu, Edit Area, All Floors, okay? And so once we've got Edit Area, All Floors, now we get to draw a marquee over this and try to grab this entire building. And the reason for this is that we want to move this ahead of copying it. And I want to move this so that I kind of have this center of the screen. In fact, I like to move this a little bit to the left because what I'm going to do is the drawing sheet's going to be here, and I want a little bit of sidebar space here in case I've got keynotes or something else. So this makes it easier to copy paste this into plan. Now I could hit that copy paste button right now if I wanted to, and then hit the space bar to go back to select objects. That's now in the clipboard, believe it or not. But it might be that in the case of I've got to create a new Pro Plan, that might clear that clipboard. We'll see real quick. Again, this is X17, and so this process is a little bit different from my previous version's video. So I'm going to get into the top of the project browser where I've got the Pro Plan pinned. This one is version 250730, and I'm just going to make a copy of this. Now, if you're using my automatic CSV system where that's pulling data from a CSV file, then it's important that we name this project appropriately, okay? And so I'm just going to say yes to this. Oh, that's because I had a test plan open. Haha. I'm going to say yes to that. I'm copying the project now. In this case, I'm not going to worry about what it's named because this is going to get transferred back to the original person. And then after I've done that, I just get to open up Pro Plan-N, and we want to do a little bit of prep on this. So a couple things we want to do. We want to turn off auto build roofs. So I need to get in here and uncheck auto build roofs. Okay, that's in the case that the roof is already completed in the other plan file. We don't know that yet, but it's good to just turn this off now so that we can turn it back on if we need to. Let me just press OK. Next thing I want to do is I want to make sure I'm turning off auto build foundation as well. And same reason there is that we want to make sure that we're not overriding some foundation that's already been worked on. And so it's going to automatically give us this. You know, I wish this was something that didn't happen. Like there's no reason for this to show up, you know, when we're turning auto build off, because it's also going to kick us down to the floor below. And you need to make sure you come back up to the floor above. So we're back on floor number 1. All right. Now here's where I always kind of immediately get stuck in thought about what else do I need to do in terms of prepping this, and you know, in terms of what's here and what auto build functions are here. Now, if I'm moving from an old version of a Pro Plan to a new version of a Pro Plan, it would be important to get rid of all these cross-section cameras that are already established. We'd want to get rid of those. In this case, I'm moving from Canvas to the Pro Plan, so I'm going to leave those there. Next thing I want to do is I want to come and check in the plot plan. If I were transferring from an old Pro Plan to a new Pro Plan, I'm going to want to get rid of this lot size because this is driving our area analysis system. So we'd get rid of this polyline and this polyline as well, or we need to go back to the original one and get rid of that. That would probably be a better approach, since maybe in a future release we do some kind of updates to the macro that drives this. So either way, you're going to want to make it so that we don't have duplicate things happening here. Okay. Let's see, and then let me get back into the working plan and think over anything else I might be missing. I think that's it. Another good thing to kind of do just as a preemptive starter is move this up in the case that what you're pasting is greater than the bounds of what we're seeing here. It also would be helpful to even move up the cross sections, get them out of the way. This just makes it easy in case for some reason we've got a bunch of information and the size of the building is much larger, and you can even move these wall elevation cameras out of the way until we get our new plan pasted in here. Now in terms of auto build, I don't have auto framing turned on, and so we're all good there. We don't need to turn off any other auto build stuff. I think we're ready to transfer this over. So I should be able to paste hold position. Let's give it a shot. Look at that. Now it's going to tell us default ceiling elevation of the new room is different from the default ceiling elevation of the old room, and you could press OK. What that's telling us is that, well, there is no way to transfer our room and floor height information. Unfortunately, we have to just go plug it in. Now, something I would typically do, and what I like to do, is I'm going to go just hit an undo here. I'm going to prep this ahead of time, because that way it will warn me if the two are not the same even after I've made the edits to try to conform them. So that's kind of a smart thing to do. So we'll get in here. We'll get into the first floor room defaults. You can get into this from edit, default settings, floors and rooms, right? And so we're going to open up our first floor defaults. Notice there's no foundation floor. That means they did not have a foundation built. All right, and here we go. We've got a rough ceiling height of 119.5. This is where I really like to just do a little print screen and get this copied. Now, Canvas is a little easier than maybe other plans because they don't often build that foundation level. So this information is pretty linear. And then the next thing I want to do is get into the floor structure, because clearly this is a strange floor structure. I don't know where they derived this number from. Oftentimes this is just a made up number. So I'm not sure where they're getting 10 3/8. That's not a standard number by any means, but we're going to go ahead and copy it forward anyways. And then I like to make a note to the person that I'm doing this for, in the case that you're doing it for someone else, that, this number is a little off. You might want to go check your information, right? And let me check moldings. We can see we've got a different default base molding. We'll see if that transfers over, but these are details that you're going to want to check out. Now, a big part of this is we want to make sure things are in fact following defaults in the case that we have to do some overrides or, who knows what. So what we know about the structure is 10 3/8. And if I come back here, I can paste that image in as a picture, and I can start conforming my first floor. And so we've got 119.5, very strange number. And then let's edit this floor structure. And this was 10 3/8. And so if we look at this, our numbers should be the same. Now they didn't have a foundation level, so they're not going to see that ceiling below stem wall information there, but 119.5 looks correct. All that looks correct. This is all the same. Floor under this room, yep. 7/8, 11 1/8. Okay. Let me go ahead and hit done there. Now, let's give this a shot again. I'm going to use that edit area tool, which is in the edit menu. I'll edit this, copy paste. Oops, let me try that again. Wrong tool. There we go. Copy paste, paste hold position. And notice there was no warning. That means we got our floor information correct. And now that I've got this in place, I can move my cameras in if I like and start to build this out a little bit. And here's the fun part, getting it to work with the Pro Plan. Now, mind you, these elevation cameras, if you care, are bound to the outside of the drawing sheet. So you could just snap these back into place if you wanted to. Oh, the last thing that I forgot to mention, and this was a big one, and I made a big mistake, was I did not turn off my automatic dimension defaults. Let's go back a few steps. And this is not all that uncommon for me. I forget these little details sometimes. So I'm going to go back a few steps before I pasted this. There we go. Let me go forward one step. So to turn off our automatic dimension defaults, double click the manual dimension tool from the toolbar if you'd like. And we're going to, in the setup automatic, notice the exterior section has auto refresh turned on its dimensions. Let me press OK. All right. Now I should be able to base hold position. There we go. And so we're retaining whatever exterior dimensions they had before. Now, you might encourage them to go ahead and delete all these dimensions and, use the dimensions in the Pro Plan. They're going to be, to me, they're going to be a lot more improved from this. And totally up to them. It's just something I'm going to mention to them. And then now I can start to conform these elevation cameras. And then we've got our elevation camera cluster with the rows. We're going to want to put this into the kitchen space here. There we go. And I can even do something really, really nice, which is, if they wanted to see this, is pull this camera inside of the wall cabinet and do a little automatic elevation dimension. And there we go. And then we can pull it back out. And that's going to look like this. Look at that. Very nice. So we'll do that as a little added service here, even though this is an as-built and maybe they don't even need to show this. And this camera is probably just going to be a little deleted. Don't need that one. There's a glitch with Chief Architect for this kind of stuff. Look at this. There's some kind of room defining thing happening here. That's kind of funny. So I'm not sure what that is. Oh, it's just that I've got my camera. There we go. That should fix it. Let's try that instead. Let's delete these. Do a new dimension default. There we go. Okay, now what's up next? We need to conform all of our cabinets, all of our windows, all of our doors. So we're going to use the window tool, just do a little marquee over everything. This is just one way to select all your windows. We want to make sure that we're not selecting any mold units. Mold units can be problematic. If you want to try to get around that, you can drop in a window schedule here and custom build that window schedule so that it doesn't include doors and it doesn't include mold windows, because we cannot edit these things at the same time. So you have to select mold windows separately. So now that I've done that, I can open the row object. So I built a schedule where the only thing here is quantity. Now this is the default schedule in the Pro Plan, believe it or not. It's there to help you transfer files because there's already a window schedule established. So now this is a secondary window schedule. So this is just being used as a utility in this case. So now I can just open row object and change all these labels. And we want to specify a label. And the label we're going to use is in the label section of the user defined macros, and it's called label rab. Now you can take this and select it and copy it and press OK. And the other thing we're going to want to do for Windows specifically is set our Y offset to about -18 inches. Okay. And so now let me press OK. There we go. That's doing something that it should be doing. That looks correct. All right. Now let's go ahead and use this same schedule, and we can just reuse this schedule, if you will. You could come in here, uncheck window, and instead just choose mold windows in case there are those units, and there are none, so we're good here. And then I'm going to check door instead, and I want to make sure I uncheck mold door units, uncheck window, and now we're getting just all doors in this case. And so we can open that row object and do the same thing with the label, specify it, and paste that label Rab. That part's perfect. Now I want to open this schedule again. I'm going to uncheck doors, and I'm going to just check interior doors, or excuse me, exterior doors. And so there seem to be no exterior doors, or at least they're not being recognized as exterior doors. That's kind of a strange one. So we could just use the door tool in this case. It looks like this is an extension to the rest of the house, possibly. So, but I'm still going to select these anyways because I'm going to put an offset in their labels as well. So let's go ahead and open these up, change that to a -18 offset, and that gets that outside of those doors. Okay. I really don't like the dimensions that are here, and I don't think it's a benefit to keep them. So I am going to, in this case, delete those dimensions and go back to my automatic exterior dimensions, which are set up to look a lot better than what we've got here. And then let me just do a little change this to intersected selection so I can get this canvas scan thing over off to the right there. So yeah, this is looking a lot better by just using my manual dimension tool instead. And then a big common thing with a lot of canvas scans is they've got a bunch of solids and objects. And sometimes those solids are on the exterior side so that when you finally go and build something like the terrain, it moves those solids all over the place. So just keep that in mind as you're working through from a canvas scan that you might have to move some of that stuff around. And I'm not sure what this line is. That's a very strange line. What is this? Oh, it's a wall. So they've divided the kitchen here, split in the middle of the kitchen. I have no idea why. I'm going to go ahead and change this too. I'm going to make some assumptions. Now, typically I wouldn't be making any assumptions, but this is a canvas scan and they do some really goofy things. So that's why I'm going to change this around a little bit. So now this is going to be the kitchen room instead. Maybe they'll do it in a diagonal, who knows what. So the next thing I want to do is I want to turn on those auto build foundations since they weren't on. So this is a particular use case, and this always changes depending on what kind of plan you're transferring. You're going to have to make these decisions, right? And so I'm going to build foundation, automatically build it, and let me press OK. And then I'm going to go look at the exterior of this building now, and we're going to take a look to see if there was a roof line, and there was not. And let me just take a quick look around. See if there's any kind of goofy things happening. Running through fireplace, cool. You know, and then technically this has a second floor, so maybe we would even build a second floor so that we don't have light bleed coming in through the stairs. I'm pretty sure that this technician probably didn't know how to properly do wall caps, so I'm guessing that they've faked this a little bit. You know, we can see that there's some kind of lower wall, upper wall. A lot of times with the canvas scan, I'm going to reset default wall top heights, but this actually looks good. This person was very clever. Seems to be a decent technician in terms of creating these stairs. That was a well done job. It would seem at first glance. I run into a lot of canvas scans that do some really funny things. Who knows? Maybe they're getting better technicians. That'd be very cool. All right. Let me come up a level. And so we're going to build a second floor for this. It'll be derived from the floor below. And then let me just also build a roof as well. All right, so here's the next real important part of this is we're going to transfer in a lot of the function of the ProPlan. Now, the ProPlan transfer tool, which is in the main Rabbitt design toolbar full, is right here, ProPlan transfer tool. And so we need to spray this whole building. So we're going to set this to a plan mode. Now, there is a glitch that's extremely difficult to work out. I've been working it out slowly, but I'm going to show you how to correct that glitch. So I'm going to spray any room, and this is going to add the ProPlan's features to all the custom fields for your windows, doors, cabinets, etc., and rooms in this case. So the glitch is that if we were to go open up one of these cabinets, for instance, what you're going to see here in the object information is that it added a bunch of things that should not be here, and you may not know what those things are. Okay, and so what those things are just the area analysis custom fields. And currently it's really difficult for me to work around that problem. So instead, we're going to get into schedules, get into custom object fields in the schedules category. This is in your default settings. And I just get to get rid of all the area analysis inputs here. Okay. So this is kind of an errant old custom fields. They're in, I believe, the molding of the room painter, which was part of that tool because it's built from a style palette. So it's really difficult to get rid of that particular glitch. Let me press OK, done. Now, if we select a room and open the schedule from that room, we should see that the area analysis is doing something, or at least starting to do something. But notice that there is no existing coverage, no new coverage. That's because we need to get back here. And then we need to use is coverage painter or the area analysis package initializer painter. And we can paint this in a plan mode. And that's going to apply to all rooms. So that if we get back here, now we see existing coverage is being populated. And we're getting some information here that's being populated. Kind of the last step here that I like to take in terms of pulling that area analysis full circle to me is like I like to see that there's a terrain built. So terrain, create terrain perimeter. This is also part of transferring. A terrain will not transfer with the building. What it instead will do is it will transfer over a polyline that represents that terrain. So if you see something like this where there's a big polyline drawn in your building here, and because you had terrain data before you had input some data, what you need to do is just take that polyline, convert it. So you're going to convert that to a terrain perimeter, and then that will bring back your terrain in the case that you had a terrain already built. And we don't need to display it in this layer, and we can just press OK. And because this is X17, you might want to get to a working landscaping view. And X17, terrain not shown in perimeter. Actually, sorry, we're going to get to plot plan instead. In X17, we have the ability to set a marker when we open this terrain. If we have a terrain, let's see. Oh, that was terrain in here. Working landscape terrain. There we go. We're able to show this marker, place terrain elevation marker. And so what this does is this indicates from where we're going to set our terrain so that when we open up the terrain perimeter from that reference point, we could say, hey, surface at reference point is such and such. Instead, I'm going to click automatic. Okay, and that's going to get rid of that marker. So take a look at this in 3D again. This now should have another floor and a roof. Oh, and unfortunately, this video is going to end because look at this. And this is something I've run into with the DLSS, okay, is that I've got a rendering error. This is going to shut this down. We're going to lose a little bit of work. I'll go ahead and pause this video. Okay, so we're back to recording. I'm rebooting Chief. I want to note that when you have an error like that, I like to let it just run its course. It took a couple of minutes for Chief to finally shut down from that error. And so I like to let that go just in case it's somehow recognizing that it needs to create an archive file because the timing was correct or something like that. But when I go open this again, it should show me that there's automatically saved file exists that's newer than the file you selected. Make sure you say yes. It's going to pull that from the auto archives, and hopefully we didn't lose too much data. Let me go take a look at this. And we can see we've got that second floor installed and we've got the roof on that. That's actually pretty good. And then let's go take a look at the room schedule and see what's being produced here. There's nothing being produced. So I lost that little detail. And then I want to open up a cabinet in this case. And I want to see in the object information, is any information input? It's not. That means my custom fields did not transfer over for some reason. So let me use that plan transfer tool again. I'm going to spray. In fact, I'd like to just draw a marquee over everything. And if we go and look at the schedule, that's the cabinet schedule for this, it should be that this information is populated. And then if it's not, maybe we have some issue like this where they used a regular cabinet and they did not designate this as a filler, or it would be in the filler section. But all this other detail is in there. That's good. Let's go take a look at our window schedules as well. And so if everything transferred over correctly, you should see that these window schedules are populated, and that's good to know as well. Cool. And so what do we need to do? Well, we can get rid of this schedule, and then we want to do that initializer to make this all be part of our terrain calcs. Let's go pick this up again, open schedule. You should see that this is populated as well. Cool. There we go. And so that's pretty much it. This has been almost completely brought forward. Now there's a few things in the roofs that if you were transferring a plan over that had a roof established, what you're going to be missing is the roof defaults. And so what you could do is you get to your roof plan. Let's see, working roofs only. And I'm going to go up a level. I'm going to open up this roof plane, for instance, and in the object information panel, there's going to be some information in some of these macro inputs. So what we can do here is, all you would need to do is, if you've got auto build turned off, in this case, draw out a roof plane. So in the case that you're transferring over something that already has a roof and you want to use the automatic vent system that's in the Pro Plan, all you're going to do is take this roof that we generated because we're in the Pro Plan. Any new roof is going to carry with it the defaults that come from the Pro Plan. And so we're going to take the object eyedropper. Let's take a look and see if in our settings we have the ability to transfer custom fields. We do. So this is a way that you can use that automatic vent system, is transferring that custom fields over. All right. So you would just draw a roof plane out, use the object eyedropper, designate that you're, in these settings, clear all custom fields, and now you can marquee and draw in, and you'll pick up those custom fields. And what that does is it makes it so that this is now, if we look at the schedule for this, is now going to produce that roof vent schedule. Okay, so that's an important little note to take advantage of that particular feature. And then let's go look at the foundation level. Oh, foundation is no longer being built. That's something that got missed in the autosave. Automatic rebuild of foundation. Oh, and we're in the roof view, so that's why we're not seeing it. Working plan view. There we go. And let's just take a look at what information we have here. Yeah, everything else is, you might want to do the same thing where we're transferring a custom field here, because macro number input 10 has the information that it needs in order to generate our foundation vent calc system, right? So same thing, you can draw a foundation level room, it being a new foundation level, and then transfer this information over. That would be a way of doing this. So you just build a new foundation room in the Pro Plan, and then same thing, use that object eyedropper, drop over that custom fields. Cool. I'm going to make sure that foundation auto build is back on. And then is there any last little bits of cleanup here? Let's just go take a look at some of the print views. No, that's pretty good. Might be that I want to turn off the ceiling height macro for this pantry. There's a couple of ways you could do this. You could put in a rule in the in our settings here at the top. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and move these settings back down so you can get into project preferences, in room label options, and what are we looking at here? Some of these do not show their ceiling height. So something like the shower water closet deck, we could also just put in a dash quote pantry quote. Okay. Press OK, close this view out. Now it's no longer going to show that ceiling height information here. Right. And then just because I'm being nice, being a very nice guy, knowing how the dimension tool works is we would draw this right on top if we wanted to pick up the window. But if we didn't want to pick up that window, we can just draw it right through. And then X17 has an automatic offset. You notice that the pink is being highlighted there. That's the offset from this dimension. If you wanted to have uniform offsets in all of your dimensions, that would be a way of doing this. And I'm going to just take a little picker, pick this side right there. And maybe we'll do this here as well. It's not going to pick up this fireplace because that fireplace is not built with walls, so that's a little challenging. So maybe we just pick a couple things there. Let's go ahead and this is a difficult dimension string to run. There we go. This is also a difficult one to run. This is where I'm going to take a little pick and that right there. There, something like that. We're getting there. And I'm going to leave the rest of the dimensioning up to this person. So I think that's it. I think we've got everything. We've got our relative heights all correct. We've transferred that in. I ended up turning on auto build roofs, but maybe you're not doing that. Let's go take a look at one of the layouts just to see how this is working out. Also, I'm going to go ahead and conform the logo replacement plan. Let me pause for a second. I'm going to go pick up this person's logo. I'm going to show you how to replace that logo. You just open up the logo replacement plan that's in the layouts folder. You can see here I've got this Rabbitt design image. Instead, I'm going to hold shift, right? So if I hold shift, that's going to change this mode to import. Now I need to go find that, and it's going to be in my assets, and then images, logos, other companies, and MCI is going to be, oh, let's see. I don't see it now. Let's see. There we go. That guy right there. Oh, it's a WebP file. So what do we have to do instead? Well, I'm going to cheat a little bit here. I'm going to cheat and do a little screen clip of that instead. How about that? And we're going to get a little stupid thing there in the corner, but that's okay. So import, go downloads. Here we go. And you're going to want to reset original aspect ratio. That gets this looking correct, okay? And press OK. And then I can probably slide this up with my control and just get rid of that little piece. There we go. When that's done and we save this, then when we open up a layout file, that logo should be there instead of what was there before. And so go forward and we can see that, we might have to move this logo around a little bit or move the John Drive project around a little bit. This is getting derived from that CSV file. Okay, perfect. You could, of course, move this individually on the sheet 1, 2, 3. That might be something that you do. Or you can move the logo replacement up. We can just slide this up if we wanted to. That's going to affect this as well. I'm going to use this centering tool right there, copy paste, bring that into the previous page, and one more. That's just for this particular layout file, right? And we've got a bunch of different layout styles here. Once that part's all done, let's just go take a look and see what's going on. All right, that building's on the plot plan. That's good. This is an existing sheet. Maybe they delete it, maybe they don't. Here we go. That's being sent to view already. And then we could, of course, populate some of these other views. And this is looking pretty good. If I wanted to be really nice, I could send the elevations already to this plan, but I'm not going to do that this time around. And it looks like they might have to conform some things in terms of the window schedule. And so this is it. This concludes it. We've transferred this plan over. Everything's functioning. Everything's taking advantage of the ProPlans tools. Very cool. Hope this was easy to follow. I know there's some complex parts to this. And please check in the description or the comments of this YouTube video, because as I go through this and maybe questions arise, there may have been some things that I forgot. That does happen because ProPlan's immense. It's got so many settings and little tools and utilities. So I don't always remember all the little details of what it takes to transfer these files over. So leave some comments. I'll go ahead and try to respond to them in case you've got particular questions about this. And as a follow-up, I do charge a very minimal fee to do this transfer. In fact, I take this service as a loss, and I'm doing that just to try to make my customer base as happy as possible. So that is in the shop. You can purchase a transfer. So you have me do it for you, so you don't have to go through all this. Totally up to you if you want to go through all this or not. There you go. Thank you.